Hey, Vinyl Community, Jeff here again. It is Monday. So, here's what I did over the weekend and what I picked up over the weekend. Over the weekend, I've been seeing these ads recently on Facebook for this place. I didn't know what the store was. I didn't even know where it was, but it showed up and it said, we just got in a bunch of metal and reggae and stuff like that. So I noticed that where there were albums, and I thought, huh, why is this showing up on my feed? Where is this place? I don't even know where in Virginia this place is. And I'm like, but what? A new record store? And then I looked into it a little further. And I'm like, okay, they're not a record store. They're not a thrift store. They're more like a guitar shop. It's more like a music store, a guitar shop. But it's a guitar shop like a thrift store, I guess, because you trade in stuff. But they also have records. So I'm like, I looked it up. I'm like, where is this place? All right, it's less than an hour away. So I'm thinking, okay, it's out there. It's out there in the boonies. My wife's like, well, let's go check it out. So we made plans to just go check it out one day. And so Saturday rolled around, had some time, a few hours before I had to go to a band gig. And so we drove out there. And then we also realized, okay, well, just 10, 15 minutes up the road is a friend of ours. Actually, the friend of mine that gave me all those free records recently. She and her husband live out there. And so I thought, hey, I hit her up and said, hey, I'm going to be heading out to that little store, which is one of her husband's favorite places because he likes guitars. And, we can swing by if you want. She said, sure. So we thought, well, let's kill two birds at one stone. We'll go to the music store and then we'll go out and see some friends. So that was our Saturday plan. So we went out there. I noticed on the website, the pictures they had, I'm seeing they had the Rat box set. I also saw that they had Motley Crue's self-titled album, which made me think, are these guys carrying, unofficial releases or what? I noticed Ozzy Speak of the Devil, which I'm thinking I need a copy of that. So I was just looking at the pictures they had, and some stuff was catching my eye. And I'm like, they had some Kiss, generic stuff. So I went out there not knowing what it was. I thought it was more of a store, and they were getting this stuff. Turns out it was more of a guy who's selling off some of his personal collection for the most part. And then I'm assuming they probably taken other stuff. But it was mostly from a guy's personal collection. Sadly, the guy was not there, so I couldn't wheel and deal with any of the stuff. Had a lot of Kiss stuff. And a lot of it would have been cool to have. He had the Blue Tear Rock and Roll Over. Still had the stickers in it. But he wanted like $70 for it. Can't pull the trigger. I'm not that kind of a collector. I've got the album, so I'm not that kind of a collector. He did have a copy of Kiss Originals. Now the cover across the top looked like somebody chewed it across the top. It had probably a quarter of an inch deep and then kind of went up, and it was all kind of rigid across the top. But in the insides, the cover itself was in great condition compared to the one I've got that's all beat up. No, not a lot of ring wear. The albums inside in the original paper sleeves looked minty fresh. They looked unplayed. They looked excellent. Had the trading cards in there untouched. Had the little booklet in there that had the lyrics and stuff in Japanese. So I don't know what all was I forgot what all was supposed to be in there, but the fact that it had the cards and I think it had an order form, I'm thinking it probably had all of that needed, but the albums were in minty fresh condition. I mean, they were just like really clean, really clean. I almost got that, but again, it's like I have a copy that's playable, but probably doesn't have any of that stuff, and it's probably beat up. But again, he wanted like $80 for that, and I'm like, I want to drop $80 on an album that I really already have, that I don't really need because I have the original 3 albums individually. Do I need it? So I was back and forth. He had, a couple copies of Kiss Alive 2 that were, $40, $50, and I didn't notice anything special about them. One of them had the book in it. The book was coming apart. Didn't have the tattoos. So he's just selling off some stuff like that. He had, double platinum and the first album. He did have a copy of Love Gun with the gun in it, but the gun had been taped, and then the paper the paper was ripped. I mean, the gun was in there, and you could see Scotch tape marks. It wasn't in great condition. He had another copy that had the bang part of the gun, the yellow paper in there without the gun. Had some Ace Frehley solo stuff still sealed, so I don't know where he's getting it from. But anyway, I'm touring around. I'm looking at the other stuff. They had a section for metal, and I went over there and I saw the Ozzy Speak of the Devil. It was in probably very good condition. Had some fingerprints. I could probably clean it up to very good plus. It was in decent condition, but again, it wanted like $80 for it. And I'm like, oh. That's when I was going to try to talk him down on, because I'm looking online and you can get that for, even shipped, you can get it for closer to 60. And I'm just thinking, I wouldn't mind taking it home if he's going to take less. But the guy wasn't there, and the guy who was there didn't really have the power to do that. And he's pretty firm on the prices because he knows, he looks them up and he keeps to a pretty standard pricing. And I'm like, oh, no. Pretty much everything in this guy's collection was overpriced. Everything. But he had a lot of new albums, so I don't know where he's getting it from. I almost bought the Birds of Satan album. He had a copy of that for $35, still sealed. So that was where I was leaning. But then I saw this, and I thought, well, this is interesting. Ozzy's Live and Loud. And I'm like, okay, what is this doing here? And I'm like, what? Because I'm thinking, so I went ahead and picked it up and looked at it, and sure enough, it is the copy that's from the Ozzy box set. So I'm like, okay, 3 albums. It was under $80. That was one of the first things I'm like, okay, that's a little more feasible for the price that it was more feasible for 3 albums. But it's from the Ozzy box set. So obviously he split the box set. Then I'm flipping, and he had the Live at Budokan Ozzy, and it's also from the box set. So I'm like, okay, somebody doesn't like live albums, and they're getting rid of their box set live albums, which seems weird, but I guess the box set's not, if you're just buying them for the records, then yeah, whatever, but now you've pretty much deflated the value of having the box set. But anyway, in the end of the time, about time it was all over, I went ahead and jumped on this. My wife's like, well, you need to buy something, we came all the way out here, and, little local business, and so I went ahead and made the pounce on this. Again, it was a little more than I really wanted to shell out, but it wasn't the most expensive thing in the store at all by any chance. He had some albums in there that were over $100, and they weren't worth it. They weren't. This, pretty much brand new. He took all the albums. It's got all 3 albums. They're out of, let me see if I get these out. They are out of the paper sleeves that they came in, and he put them in some MoFi sleeves. So, took some good care of them. Every one of them is in a MoFi sleeve, and then the paper sleeve is separate. And of course, they're all looking the same as far as the color wise. So, but yeah, so everything's here. It looks minty fresh. I just have to assume that, hey, somebody doesn't like live albums, and so they're like getting rid of the live albums. And I almost wanted to buy the other one. I almost bought the Budokan, but the combined price between the two was definitely more than my pocket could handle. So I thought, well, I'll get this one because it was the better. This and the Budokan were the same price. Budokan was like a 2-album set. This is a 3-album set. I thought for the price, you get more bang for the buck. So yeah. So I went ahead and grabbed this. Again, some of that other stuff he had would have been nice to have, but it was definitely a little pricey, and so I'm not sure. But anyway, left there, went and visited my friend for a while. Got to see their place before they move, and that was my day. And then headed home and had a gig that night. So also found out, and I should have said this at the beginning because people aren't probably lasting this long, but as of last night around 10 o'clock, I became a grandfather. So anyway, my first grandchild was born last night. My daughter-in-law went into labor early in the morning yesterday, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I forget. My son texted us at 6 a.m., said she's in labor, and then around 9 o'clock he said that it was intensifying, and then we didn't hear anything for a while for the rest of the day, and then they weren't really announcing it until it was really fully done. So 10 o'clock I'm going to bed. I'm like, any update? And he's like, popped out 5 minutes ago. So anyway, yeah, there we go. I'm a grandparent. I'm old now. Anyway, that's it for this one. Thanks a lot for watching. Rock on and rock hard.